And now I really want to thank Woolpert for being here and for being willing to give their presentation about integrating geospatial appraisal and AI solutions. So today's presentation will explore how traditional geospatial services, modern appraisal technologies, and cutting-edge AI all come together. You'll hear updates about Tennessee's 3D landscape, 3D program, the 3DHP, innovations in appraisal, and how AI is being used to support smarter government solutions. So I'll introduce our presenters today. We have Billy Burle, who's the Program Director of Appraisal Technologies with over 25 years of experience in GIS. Matthew Yusko, the Public Sector Cell Leader, focusing on technology and geospatial data. And then Sam Moffat, who's the Geospatial Project Director with extensive knowledge in GIS. So I will let y'all continue, or you can introduce yourselves more if you would like.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to go ahead and kick it off, and then we'll hand it to Matt and Billy to finish it out. So this is a guide to delivering transformative solutions using geospatial appraisal and geo AI solutions. Second here, get rid of that. Yeah, so from capture to actionable insights, with the growth that Woolpert has had over the last 10 years, there's a lot of new and emerging markets that have joined the geospatial sector within Woolpert. Each of them complement each other as geospatial data at its core. It's the foundation or the base map for doing so many different things. From remote sensing and derivatives like contours, wetland mapping, planimetrics, and hydrology for like the 3DHP program, to most recently mass appraisal and geo AI. We all know that AI requires good data, right? Because bad data in equals bad data out. So by sticking to our guns, to our core strength and experiences, by capturing the best geospatial data that we can, this feeds these other markets. Like mass appraisal, it relies on good and updated parcel imagery information to map the properties correctly. And this allows our mass appraisal market to take full advantage of the new technologies we're providing. Billy's going to be talking more about this at the end. And then AI has only enhanced the way we do things. It's helping our workflows be more efficient and smarter, speed up our turnaround times on projects, and bring so many more opportunities to advance the data to ways that we have not even thought about yet. And like I said earlier, Woolpert, man, we're growing fast and furious. Our footprint is stretching to 5 continents. So you may have seen a lot of LinkedIn posts recently for job openings we have. So if you're ready for an adventure, you have some mad skills you want to show off, check out woolpert.com/careers or send one of us an email. I know there's a ton of openings right now, so check it out. So a little bit about me. I started my GIS career way back in 1992 as a college sophomore at Samford University in Birmingham. I'm totally dating myself there. Since then, it has been a wild ride, taking me to Atlanta, then Austin, Texas, before getting the call for the job, moving back home to Knoxville to make my mom ecstatic and to help manage the Tennessee base mapping program. It really was a career-defining project for me. But since then, my relationship with the state of Tennessee has not wavered, and to this day, we're still great partners in advancing geospatial data across Tennessee. So back in about 10 years ago, Woolpert rebranded itself from an architecture engineering company to an architecture engineering and geospatial company. We added geospatial to the title of the industry. We basically created our own industry because it plays such a vital role in everything we are doing. I started back in 2012, a long time ago. There were about 300 geospatial employees at Woolpert. They were all in the U.S. And today we have over 1,000, and we're global. This growth has kept up with the transformation of the geospatial industry as a whole, and possibly even help drive its expansion into many other parts of our daily lives. From geofencing to autonomous cars and drones, location services are here to stay, and it's only growing. All right, I love this slide. Of course, it shows a lot of the geospatial capabilities that we do, but it shows what we offer our customers and almost demonstrates we will use the right tool in the toolbox for the right project. We sit down with the customer, we go over the best solution for the problem they're needing to solve, and then we will implement that technology to achieve their goals. This is also one of the reasons we rebranded ourselves to AEG, because the tentacles of GIS, everything we do, whether we're doing engineering design of a new intersection or building a school, the geospatial aspect is always there, and we utilize it to the fullest extent. Also, I have a little ask for each of you, if you don't mind. So, if you had to explain to a 10-year-old what your role is at work or organization, what would you say? Feel free to post it in the chat, and it'll be fun to see the responses. Um, Personally, what I would say is that, man, I'm part of an amazing geospatial global team that uses cool technology and to make super cool maps of the world that governments and communities and people can use to make better decisions. All right, kid? All right. So, why does this matter? Why does it matter that Woolpert can offer all these solutions? Well, sometimes you got to think creative. You got to think creative ways to get buy-in from your county commissioner, board of directors. Sometimes you got to think outside of the box for projects. Budgets seem to be getting tighter and tighter from GIOs to GIS managers across the state. That we're all feeling the pinch. Being able to justify, defend, and get buy-in for your budget from the people with the purse strings, it's really one of the biggest obstacles we all face. Let's face it. Having some sort of return on investment response would be nice, but sometimes it's hard to do. However, once they realize if you build a solid foundation of good geospatial data, the opportunities to leverage that investment are endless. So, like you said, if you have a good foundation, like lidar data, current imagery, good survey data of your assets, applications are huge. So this is just a small snippet of things that we can do, and Matt is going to blow your mind with what he will be talking about from an AI's perspective. But some of the map applications that were being employed by the state of Tennessee and some counties include asset management and automated feature extraction. For example, Woolpert is extracting all the building structures from the LiDAR that we are collecting from the Tennessee 3DEP program across the state. This data has enabled Tennessee to drop headfirst into the 3D HP program with USGS to create a 3D hydrology model across the entire state where water actually flows downhill. Kind of crazy. All right, so Woolpert, we're always investing in the latest and greatest technologies and softwares. We're using AI now to optimize our sensor workflows and deployment. We're currently utilizing the Leica DMC4 multispectral imagery sensor that are far superior than anything we've ever used in the past. The imagery that comes out of the sensor will blow your mind with the quality, the crisp radiometry from the ability to fly higher and faster than other sensors, thus increasing the efficiency of the image collection and there lowering the price overall. For LiDAR data, we mainly use the Leica terrain mappers. These are workhorses. We've been using them for three or 4 years now, but they allow us to fly over large areas, a lot of times with a lot of high elevation changes, and we don't have to fly higher to capture those taller peaks because the way the technology and the sensor works. But point densities range from anywhere from 2 points per square meter QL2 LiDAR to 25 points per square meter with a single flight. And the vertical accuracies achieved can be anywhere from 5 to 10 centimeter RMSE, sometimes better. And then topobathy LiDAR. So this is kind of a hot thing right now in the geospatial acquisition market. There's a lot of projects that are going on, mostly funded by NOAA, the Corps of Engineers, et cetera. But for those of you that may not know how bathy LiDAR works, it uses a green laser to penetrate the water to map the elevation of the seafloor or river bottom, while a topo LiDAR sensor uses a red laser to capture elevation data on the land. So topobathy LiDAR systems deploy both lasers on them to capture both elevations on the seafloor and the land simultaneously. And then last but not least, Woolpert also builds their own custom-built LiDAR sensors. The latest one is called Zeus, and it's cool. It deploys two types of LiDAR technology, Geiger mode and linear mode. So linear mode LiDAR is basically what you think about when you think about a LiDAR. It's used, it sprays the ground with like 500,000 pulses of light a second and zigzag patterns along the flight path. While Geiger mode is mainly, it allows you to fly faster and higher, and it collects data by spraying millions of pulses of LiDAR in a circular pattern as the plane flies forward. Now, the linear mode is best for obtaining the best vertical accuracies of the elevation data, while the Geiger mode is best for capturing the most point densities of up to 100 points per square meter while flying 300 knots at 10,000 feet. So it's kind of crazy. It captures a ton of data, a ton of points while it flies. So this sensor is mainly used for utility mapping, above ground mapping, utility fiber permitting, transmission lines, distribution lines. But we have plans to deploy it in the future for more applications. Right now, I'm going to show you a really cool video of how this new sensor works. So we're flying at 10,000 feet AGL, that's above ground. It captures a 1.38-mile swath while it flies. So you can imagine 300 knots. It's capturing just a ton of data as it flies. And so here's going to show you a picture of what the sensor looks like in a second. Fashionable. But anyway, that LiDAR pulse comes out of the sensor, millions of pulses a second. It's traveling at the speed of light. And when it gets to the point on the ground, that light pulse has gotten so big, it covers 4.2 meters on the ground. And within that 4.2 meters, there's tons of points within that square. And then those points come back to the LiDAR sensor, where based on the elevation of the aircraft and the speed of light, it is able to determine high accuracy elevation data of the Earth. Here, I got some eye candy for you. This is sample LiDAR data that came from Zeus. Like I said, it's flying at 10,000 feet at 300 knots. This is one path. And the amount of points that it captures, I mean, you can see conduits, you can see line sag. Usually this has been done by helicopter in the past and never a fixed wing aircraft. But now we're kind of like disrupting the industry with this new sensor. And it's been pretty cool. There's some more eye candy. That's the Apple headquarters in California. Pretty amazing. And of course, Oakland A's in Oakland, California. Really A's fan, but thought that was neat. But anyway, let's jump forward to the 3DEP program. So back in 2015, USGS set out with a program that would capture QL2 LiDAR, 2 points per square meter for the entire nation. As of 2025, they're 99% complete. This concludes Alaska. And they've already started collecting refresh products to QL1, which is 8 points per square meter for the next edition of 3DEP. So this plays into the hands of 3DHP, the hydrology program, as well, and will provide local governments with a richer database for mapping assets. The 3DEP program has already been a huge success and has been funded by Congress for over 10 years now at hundreds of millions of dollars to help supplement regional LiDAR projects. Recently, Woolpert has been collecting QL1 LiDAR across Northeast Tennessee in support of Helene, the response, mainly for the U.S. Forest Service. They're looking for landslides, NRCS, USGS, and the state of Tennessee and TDOT. We also provided Washington County with post-disaster LiDAR and imagery of the Nolichucky River Basin from Washington County all the way to Greene County for damage assessment. And man, it was broad and it was kind of mind-blowing. But the Blount County, Hamilton County, Rutherford County, they're longtime clients of ours. They always get LiDAR refreshed every few years. And then we just flew those 3 West Tennessee counties for TDEC last spring. Now, these data sets should be available through the national map and Tennessee.gov pretty soon. And these are more LiDAR projects planned for FY27. So you got the LiDAR data, right? You got your foundation consistently mapped across the state and the nation. Yeah, that rhymed. That's pretty cool. So what do you do with that? So the best thing is elevation-derived hydrology, the predecessor to 3DHP. So what is this? Well, I can tell you it's super cool. I've always thought that the end game or goal for us mapping folks has always been understanding hydrology and how water moves and what it does. What EDH does is a big step in the right direction for us to do this. It is essentially hydrology derived from the great LiDAR that is being collected from the 3DEP program. So when hydrology is extracted from LiDAR, guess what? It's in 3D. It creates monotonicity, which is water that flows downhill. But there's a couple of things you have to do to make this work. You have to hydro condition and hydro enforce the DEM. So hydro enforce the water through the DEM. And hydro conditioning is removing all the obstacles that we see from a LiDAR data set that make the water to enable the water to flow freely. And so, like bridges and culverts, and if the water goes underground and pops back up, we create these little connectors from where the water goes underneath, starts underneath the bridge and comes out of the bridge or the culvert. And so that water flows is enforced through that obstacle and then can flow freely downhill for our models. So this graphic is the NHD hydro network. This is basically the blue lines on the USGS topo quad. And it's 2D mapped, right? And it's been used for over 50 plus years. This is what it looks like when you extract the lidar data from the hydro data from the lidar. Like I said, it's a predecessor to the 3D HP data product that USGS will release, which will include all the reach codes and all that stuff from NHD. But not only does it capture more stream miles of data, but all this data is 3D. It's so important. It flows downhill. This allows for hydrologic modeling, predictive flood analysis, and H&H modeling. So, but the project I'm most proud about is the 3DHP program with the state. Starting back in 2023 in my backyard with a pilot project on the Holston River Basin. Then in 2024, 2025, and 2026, we were tasked Middle Tennessee, West Tennessee, and then most recently the Upper Cumberland AOI. All this stuff is in production right now. It will be posted once QA'd and approved by USGS. And it's been a pleasure to work with the state on this. This is kind of just low-hanging fruit benefits of what 3DHP provides you. One of the big things right now is wetland mapping and delineation. In Tennessee, the NWI, which is the National Wetland Inventory, it's like 40 years old and really needs to be updated. We really need to understand where our wetlands are. And 3DHP data will go a long way to assisting that, being able to map. And then, of course, TDEC, for water quality studies, stormwater, and agricultural runoff. This is invaluable to them. But this is really just the tip of the iceberg of what this data does. But who does it benefit? Absolutely everyone. I mean, this is a win-win. And I got to give a lot of recognition to USGS to supporting this program. But more importantly, I got to give a recognition to the state of Tennessee for seeing the value in this data so quickly and becoming really one of the first states leading the country to have the state mapped with 3DHP data. So Dennis and Paul at the state are really kicking some butt. So other derivatives, right? And like I mentioned earlier, we're extracting all the building structures in the state from the LiDAR data we collect. And this go around with QL1, we're able to get down to every structure that is 400 square feet or larger is going to be collected. Of course, I mentioned EDH data is a great derivative, but just as important, impervious surface mapping is also a game changer. We recently did a project in Hamilton County where we extracted all the impervious surface data from the LiDAR, and the county stormwater management division is using this data by overlaying the county parcels over the impervious data to determine a percentage of impervious per parcel so the stormwater fees can be assessed in a more equitable way. And this has sped up the process. It actually has increased the fees that they've gotten. It's paid for the project many times over already. But this is a great way to do it. Every county does it a little bit different, but they had the forethought to do it this way. So I would encourage everybody to look into that. All right, so you got land cover, land use. That's easy. It's a valuable tool, especially for NRCS. Planimetric features, right? If you're a super fast growing community, getting your planimetrics updated on a regular basis, it just gives you a leg up to stay up to date on the growth within the county. And then contours, that's like low-hanging fruit as well from a derivative standpoint, but engineering companies and counties love them. The state of Tennessee took it upon themselves to create a statewide 2-foot contour database generated from the 3DEP LiDAR, and it's available to anyone via tn.gov. So check that out. And then last but not least, our topography capabilities range from coastal mapping all over the globe through the iAtlas program, which is funded by the Corps of Engineers, to riverine mapping funded by NOAA in response to Hurricane Helene. And here's a graphic, a part of the NOAA tasking that we received of all of this. Is recently completed a project acquiring riverine bathy of all the rivers in Southeast Virginia and a few in Northeast Tennessee along the Upper Clinch in response to the hurricane. So this data was just captured and the data will be available for public consumption early next year. And around Sneedville in Northeast Tennessee, right there, that's the upper Clinch. And the flow of that river is usually about 3 feet deep. During Helene, it was 27 feet deep. So this data is going to be a rich data set to allow really what the flood, allow them to really see what the flood impacts are going to be before the flood occurs. So we want to hold questions to the end, but I now want to hand this presentation over to Matt Yusko to talk about our AI capabilities. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Sam. Much appreciated, sir. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yep.
Yep.
All right. Let me get my screen. All right. Well, thanks, Sam. I appreciate that. So Sam went really thorough into kind of how we collect all of this data, and I'm going to show you guys what we can actually do with it. But before I start, I just want to say thank you guys for inviting me to this community. Never heard of Magic before. I thought I was going to do some card shows, but now, Sam pulled me in, so I'm really happy to be here. But a little bit about myself is my name is Matthew Yusko. I am a proud Tennessean. I'm currently live in Nashville, Tennessee. And Carrie, sorry, but I went to Ole Miss, hotty toddy. I know, most of you live in the greater Memphis area, so I'm sure I have a lot of State and Tiger fans on the call, so hopefully nobody holds my Rebel background against me. But it's always great to connect with our folks around the Mid-South region.
Hey, Matt,
Sir.
we're seeing your presenter view, not your slide.
Let's do that again.
All right, try and catch you early.
Oh, you're good, man.
We practiced this before too. So.
There you go.
All
You're
right.
good.
There we go. Is that better, guys? All right. So,
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys see slides like this all the time. What I'll just fast forward through is we have been in this industry for approximately 50 years. But since the creation of Google Maps, Google Earth, Google has leaned on our expertise in the geospatial realm since its inception. So pretty much everything in the Google world where it's leaning on maps, navigation, anything from a satellite, usually we're their first call. And us being a premier partner means we will get you guys the same price as Google. And we have earlier access to a lot of their programs and solutions and their staff, as well as, if you work with us, you get the same price as Google, but you'll also get our expertise and support as well. But today we're going to be talking about, Geo AI. So, uh, geospatial reasoning. So historically, in y'all's roles in GIS, it's always, where is it on a map, right? But now, fast forward with AI, we're to the point of where, what does it actually mean? What am I getting out of this, right? So, I'll show some demos here in a few minutes at the conclusion of this, but there's some quick things that I would like to show here. So here we're asking, hey, what's the air quality in Chattanooga today? So not only is it just going to provide you with the metrics up here, right? Of, the CO2 and all that stuff, but it also, if you think about it, you can think about impacts downstream or upwind and things like that. So, air quality, you can say, hey, what are the implications of air quality in this region for this school, right? So it goes beyond of just pointing things at a map. It's actually, what can I do with this? How can I help, in my, community with all these data points? Another thing I wanted to highlight here is this is a screenshot of Memphis. So the tools that I'm showing you here is Gemini Enterprise and Google Maps. So all this is showing is with all of us have assets out in the field, right? Whether that's snow plows or, you name it, 511 or any other things that are either at the county or state level that are driving. And all of us here are familiar with Google Maps, right? Everybody uses them probably on a daily basis, getting from A to B, especially if it's somewhere you've never been before. Tools like this that I'm showing you guys here is combining of Google Maps basically with AI. So now you'll see on this map right here of all the different paths, right? Not only is it going to help you guys optimize fuel costs or show a new way around things, but also you can have predictive analysis and tracking. So you can say, hey, these are the vehicle sets that we have. We're going to go out to the field. Let's do a few scenarios and see, which is, most optimal for my team. So you can do a lot of things without having to run them. You can do them in simulation and or, you can have location of all of your fleet and you can reroute them, telling them where to go, add stops, add vehicles, take pictures, all sorts of different capabilities. Next thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is Google Street View imagery. So this is something I'm sure all of you are aware of within Google Maps. When you get the guy, you drag him and you pin him down on the map, and you can see, look all around, right? So for years, Google has had all this data on hand, and they haven't had anything to really do with it. So for the past few years, local governments have been just knocking on Google's door and utility companies saying, "Hey, help us out. We are having a really hard time of understanding our assets that are out in the field, and or it's just too expensive to constantly just go around and take pictures and updating them." So what Google did is now for the public sector, everyone pretty much on this call, is they have a new product called Imagery Insights or Street View Imagery. And with that, right now they're providing locations for street poles and signs, so road signage, and utility poles. So you'll see here in this video in a second is, hey, I want to find all of the poles. Let's rewind that back. So this right here shows all of the poles in a town of Lakeland in Florida. So as you can see right there, that's all, it's filtered by all pole types. Now he's saying, hey, show me all the weather type, all the weather poles, all the ones that are damaged or leaning. Or hey, I want to click on that individual pole and I want to look at it a little bit more granularly. And it gives the history of that. It'll also show all the pictures of where that was historically. So, if in 6 months I have six different pictures, I will see maybe some kids spray painted it or ran it over, right? I will see every time that picture was taken within that 6 months period, I can look and see at the date and time that, which shape it was in. So what's really cool about this is not only does it do, like I said, utility poles and that, but it also does signage. So it also will tell you what type of material these are made out of. So whether that's concrete, steel, or what have it, wood, it'll tell you what type it's made of as well. So it's really good to just, in my eyes, if you have limited time to get people out in the field, and particularly for signage, this is a great tool to get you going. Another tool that Google is super excited about is called Road Management Insights. So in essence, think of Google Maps like you do every day, right? But with this, you can start collecting the data for any route that is in your area of operations. So say in Memphis, you want to have all the corridors within Memphis. So you would select every single route in there within the city, and now once you press go on Google and you start collecting that data, you will have historic data from that day forward. So second you press that button, you'll start getting real-time data. So what's awesome about this tool is it's about 2 minute latency, but it will show near real time of what's going on in your particular, city that you have jurisdiction to. So a lot of use cases that we've done in the past have been with, hey, this is a toll bridge, or this is a frequent, railroad crossing where we want to kind of get around that and do simulations to see how we were doing it. Another cool use case that we did was actually recently for a city that's hosting FIFA. We showed them what the impacts of traffic would look like at opening day for their baseball team. So with that data, we were able to show them, where all the corridors for them to have security and things like that. But this is just a foundation model, meaning that this is the base, right, of where you build your building blocks on top of. So if you're a city, you have tons of data on hand, right? if you were to get this product and layer that data on top of it, you're going to start getting really insightful information. For instance, hey, this road merger, there tends to be tons of accidents over there. Well, maybe with these data points that I have, I can put those breadcrumbs together and figure out what's going on and why is it causing these traffic accidents in this particular road. So just a lot of cool use cases with this, but like I said, it's a foundational model. So if you own tons of data and or you want to stack other Google APIs or third-party APIs, you can get really creative with it. You can see crowd swells in correlation to traffic. You can see there's a tool with Google called Insights. So with that, if you've ever been on Google Maps, you click on your favorite restaurant, you look on that left-hand corner, you see, when it goes up and down with how many people are going to be there and how it estimates that. It uses that same technology. So you can start, seeing when parking lots fill up or if a road gets shut down. And or if you want AI to send, your management or your reports from via email or anything like that, you can really connect pretty much anything. It's software. So, software can talk to software. So you can get really, really, really cool results out of this. And I'll show you guys a little bit more here in a second. Right here is a prototype of building your own custom Gemini application. So what I'm going to show you right here, and this is a really quick video, is I'm not a developer. I don't know how to write code, right? But I'm sure some of you know basic code, and there might be some people on this call that will just crush me any day in a competition. But we're at that point now with AI where you don't have to be an expert, right? If I just know what I'm trying to get out with plain language, I can prompt it to Gemini and I can build my own applications. So here is an example of a building a address validation application on the go. So just prompting it, hey, I'm creating an application using Google for address validation. Can you help me? This is the code. I don't understand this, right? Copy and paste this into a code editor, which I can show you guys a little bit later. Paste it in, and this is what the output is. And obviously, this is very vanilla. This isn't, the best tool you've ever seen in the world, but look how quick and easy and seamless it was. I do not know how to code. I can't say that enough, but if you have the right tools and accessibility, the world is your oyster in this. So real quick, I want to show you guys a few of those demonstrations that we talked about a minute ago. First one will be road management insights. Can you guys see this screen? Billy, can you see it?
Yes, yes.
Thank you, sir. Awesome. So right here is that tool that I was talking about earlier, Road Management Insight. So this is probably one of my favorite tools across Google right now. And as you can see, it's nothing crazy, right? This is all stuff we've all seen before. Oh, it's just Google Maps, right? With different colors. But what it's doing different in the background is this is showing you all alerts for what's going on or detecting abnormalities. So for instance, if somewhere were to do a car wreck, that's an abnormality, right? So this is real-time monitoring. This is within 2 minutes of real time. Next is the data analytics part. So this is more of the historical. As you see, if you watch this video right here, that this is going to change colors throughout the day. So you can set custom windows where you want to see all this happen, or you want to see the impacts of what's going on throughout the day. So on a Monday, as you see, we're going to get into the morning. It's not much going on. And then we're about to hit rush hour. So, with this, you're going to have this data provided to you every single day, every 2 minutes. So once you start collecting this historical data, you're going to see some really insightful things of where people are doing things. Maybe there's a construction project going on. Everybody and their mom is taking a detour around that you don't want them to. Maybe it's on a private road. We can start tracking that and understanding it and providing them with other routes to go around. Um, And then, yeah, so like I said, it's really interesting to see, hey, we're in Memphis. I want to see all of the major metropolitan areas that people are traveling from, right? These particular roads, right? I just care about these. So now I can do that same thing, but instead of just being in my city, this is, connecting me to other metropolitan areas. And on top of this, like I mentioned, you can add every single API that you can think of on top of this just to make this super insightful. And I'll show you guys some of the APIs that Google provides here in a minute, but you guys will be blown away with some of that. The next tool I just want to show you guys real quick is called Grounding Light. So this whole tool, let me refresh real quick. This tool is the whole premise is just natural language prompting. So if you guys have ever gone to Gemini or ChatGPT or Claude, right, you're just talking to it in plain language of, hey, this is what I want. Just give me that, right? So what Google did is, and I'm sure some of you guys have seen this in Google Maps, but they're getting a little bit better every single day, is instead of just saying, or get me from A to B, right? You can get a lot more granular with that. Is, hey, I'm traveling from Nashville to Yosemite Park, right? I want to stop at every Buc-ee's along the way. I like Mexican food, and I am a Marriott Rewards member, something like that, right? It will plan out your trip and it will help you navigate all the way to my destination, but it's going to give me things that maybe I didn't think about, on along the way, whether that's electric charging stations or anything of that nature. And it's all just done by a simple, word prompt here. And last thing I want to show you guys is the street view insight. So like we talked about earlier in Lakeland, this shows all of the street poles and signs that are currently in this operation. So I'm going to show you guys some street signs. So you can click on any of them around. This one better. So you can provide the detail of where that is, when it was taken, and all sorts of stuff like that. So it's a really, really cool tool where you don't have to have assets out in the field running around getting these. They're automatically going to get detected and then updated. So this is the pipeline of how they do that. I won't waste too much of your time, but the user will also have the ability to stack their imagery on top of this. So say you want to use Google's imagery insights for all your street signs or poles, right? You can also have your cars going around taking pictures and add that on top if maybe the frequency isn't enough between, when Google did it last. So, right here it's showing, like I showed you guys earlier, 20,000 street poles. I can look at just the damaged ones, right? And get granular. I can look at ones that are just leaning or weathered. I can go by electricity poles, street signs. I do it by materials, wood, metal, concrete, galvanized steel. So it's really, really cool of where you can get with that. Same with street signs. It'll do the same thing. No parking signs. If I only just want to do maybe speed limit signs, right? And I only want to look at ones that need to be replaced right now. Critical. Okay, there's none. How many are poor? So these are the first ones that we tackle. So I know that was drinking from a fire hose with a lot of technology, but the last thing that I will show you guys are just things that are at your disposal right now. So I'm sure most of you guys know what an API is. It's just connecting two softwares realistically. But just in Google Maps alone, nothing else with, in the Google ecosystem, but just with Google Maps, you can do some really cool use cases. The first one is photorealistic 3D tiles. So this would be, if you've ever seen on Google Maps or other like Apple Maps where you try to look at maybe the Notre Dame or, uh, big sites, right? And then you look at it and it's rendering and it just looks terrible. Well, what Google has done now is it's using AI with all the images scraping from the internet as well as from geospatial satellite imagery. It puts all those things that we're missing. So it's not blurry and distorted. So it'll be a clear picture and you can do a 3D, spin around it and it'll have the facade. You'll be able to see windows. It'll get that much detail. The rest are pretty self-explanatory. Aerial view, elevation, map tiles, map embeddings, street view tiles, go on and on. And that's not including, routes and getting from A to B, places. So this is address validation where, this way, or autocomplete, where you ever go to a website and you don't want to type in the full thing. That's an API where you can just pay a subscription fee and no one will ever have to type in a full address again. They can just select on the right one. Um, Other things across here is the sky is or excuse me, the world is your oyster with this. You can really, really pull some really, really quality data from here, whether like I showed you guys earlier with pollen, solar, weather is a huge one. All of these tied together on some of the other tools will give you an incredible amount of detail that you didn't have before, where you can make informed decisions and, do, get home to your families faster at the end of the day. A lot of these tools aren't here to take people's jobs away, just make you more agile and flexible and faster to get that work done. So I appreciate your time. I'll close it out there and I will hand it off to Billy.
All right. Thank you, Matt. Take a minute here to get my screens adjusted. All right. Are you seeing the full screen, full slide?
Yes.
All right. All right. So thanks, Matt and Sam. Now we're going to talk about appraisal technologies and then wrap up and how all this can tie together. A little bit about myself. As Carrie mentioned early on, I've been working in this industry for 26 years with assessors. I'm currently an IWL board of director. I'm about halfway through my 3-year term with that. I'm also on the Tennessee IWO vendor committee. I'm a member of the FGDC cadastral subcommittee. I volunteer a lot, apparently. And I'm based here in Spring Hill, Tennessee, just outside of Nashville. So our appraisal technology platform is CAMACloud, and that's made up of multiple modules. The kind of base product or the flagship module is MobileAssessor, which is off to the right or left, sorry. And then we've got multiple other modules for things like sketch verification, sketch validation. We have full desktop review modules where you can have all your property assets and all your geospatial assets across 2 monitors to go through and do a desktop review. And that way you're only going into the field for the things that need a review. And then we have Sketch Pro, which is off to the right over here. And that's a sketching application that can integrate with the CAMA system for desktop sketching. And it's not only user-friendly and feature-rich with things like the ability to trace over blueprints or images, but it's also an open data format. And that's really important to me, that it's not proprietary, meaning you'll never be held hostage. You'll never be a hostage of your data, your format. It's fully interoperable. As far as MobileAssessor goes, to get into the details of that, MobileAssessor is it's a mobile app on the iPad and it allows field appraisers to go out and do all their work on the iPad as opposed to taking a big old stack of paper property cards and then having to manually edit that property card with pen and paper and then go back in the office and do it again. So what we're doing is we're eliminating the need for paper. We're also eliminating the need for duplicate data entry. So in that paper world, not only you're doing it once in the field, you're going back in the office and you're having to enter all that data into the system again. So double work, very inefficient. We also have lots of tools to increase efficiency and productivity in the apps, things like automated or optimized travel routing, uh, mapping, sketching the photos, all that. And what all that does for our clients is it shortens their field cycles, lowers their overall operational cost, and it drastically improves data quality. And like Sam mentioned this early on with the good data in or bad data in, bad data out. Same thing, whether it's geospatial data or whether it's mass appraisal data, if your data is not good, nothing else you do downstream is ever going to matter or make a difference. So we're big in data quality as well. And then this quote here. This is one of my favorites. I could actually fill a book with all the quotes we've got or testimonials from our clients, but this one really kind of hits home at the increase in productivity and efficiency our clients gain. And so this quote's from Hall County, Georgia. It says the productivity gains using MobileAssessor have been equivalent to hiring 5 additional appraisers. And this isn't just a gut feel. He has actually multiple spreadsheets documenting and tracking the time they used to use before mobile and after mobile. And that equated to 5 additional appraisers. So pretty big uptick in productivity. As far as what we're doing in the state of Tennessee with MobileAssessor, the Tennessee has a statewide camera system called Impact that 86 and 95 counties are on. That system was built by Tyler. We're in the middle of integrating with that system. So we're doing an API integration. The partners in that process are Woolpert, the state of Tennessee, primarily the comptroller's office, Tyler Technologies, and Maury County as the pilot county. We're looking to complete that project this summer. And once we're done with that project, then MobileAssessor will be available to all the impact counties across the state. And as far as I know, most, if not all, of those 86 counties are in that paper environment where they are printing out paper property cards, going in the field, making the edits, taking a picture with a digital camera, sketching on paper, and then coming back in the office and doing all that work again. So once this is in the hands of our property appraisers across the state, I mean, it's a complete game changer. It's going to revolutionize the way they're doing property assessments in Tennessee. Now let's go back to the beginning of Sam's presentation. Talk about how all of this works together to create actionable insights. So if we go back and we start with the CAMACloud platform, which is integrated bidirectionally with the property database or the CAMA database. And then we take all that cool geospatial data Sam talked about, and that can be ingested into our platform. So now we're taking that content and adding context to it with the CAMA data or the property data. Then you layer in all that impressive stuff that you just saw Matt talk about with GeoAI technology. And now you've really gone from capture to actionable insights. And just a small sampling of the outcomes are a faster, more accurate, more comprehensive change detection process. You can also facilitate environmental and agricultural decision making by accurately identifying crop types and land cover within the cultivated fields. And then a faster, more accurate damage assessment process. And I think everybody on this call is probably in Tennessee, and I think we've all noticed the eastward shift of Tornado Alley towards us, unfortunately. But imagine immediately after a tornado, not only having access to before and after images, again, immediately, but also having that data tied to the parcel layer. So now you've got, here's a damaged home, here's the owner information, here's the address information, the square footage, the appraised value, the assessed value, and all those other property characteristics that go with that. So I think, again, all three of these, all game changers. Now, I want to end on kind of a fun note here. And speaking of games, a lot of gamers probably on here. A lot of us geo folks are geeks, and we're geeks across the board. So what I'm going to do is put this in a different context. So for the gamers, we're essentially starting with Mario. Mario is very powerful in his own right. It's CAMACloud platform. But then what we're doing is we're going to supercharge him with all this data and all this AI, allowing him to clear these levels at a much faster rate. And that's what we're doing for our clients. We're helping you clear these levels at a much faster rate than you are now, much more efficient. So with that, thank you. Appreciate y'all's time, and we'll go ahead and open it up for questions.
Thank you guys. That was really great. Do we have any questions?
Got a question.
Okay.
I'll turn my camera on. The sign reading that you do from the AI, is that able to specify what type sign it's looking at yet, or is it just say it found a sign?
Yeah, no, it can. So it can do every road sign on United States roadways right now.
Okay.
So right now it can classify poles and street signs like I showed you. In the future roadmap, they're going to also include fire hydrants, um, uh, low-hanging bridge overheads, things like that. So
Okay.
things that you can on the ground level do, but it's like I said, it's a new tool. It just got rolled out a couple months ago.
Cool.
So, it's getting its sea legs, but the demos that we have had the most success and gotten the most out of were ones where we told a story, right? Not just, hey, what's a street sign, right? That's not a whole lot of value there, but of incorporating other tools where we're routing guys to the field, right, with an application to route to them, take a picture of it, and they can assess it themselves or
Right.
whatever you want. We can really make the art of the possible. And another thing that our shop does really well is make custom applications. So I know that not everyone can make an app out of nowhere, but we make websites, applications, you name it. So we've made some really cool ones from, local level all the way up to, three-letter agencies in the federal government.
Okay. Excellent. I'm with the city of Jackson, and we're looking to do a sign inventory for the city. So
Yeah, and so I talked to the Google product manager for this actually yesterday. Um, and so their plan or how they're doing it right now is they have a refresh rate of about coast to coast of the United States, so New York to California. Every 2 years, they'll have all of this imagery updated. And then if you would like it more readily available, you could also pay for that service
sure.
for Google to do it or a third party to do it for you or your own data.
What about, well, that's what I was just fixing to say. We're also going to be doing a new road condition survey Pazer study. And could we, if we capture that video data, would that be something that y'all could use?
Yeah, so Google has a product called Vision AI, which I'm actually working with a state right now for all of their cameras on their tollways. So they have about 1,200 cameras where they want to start introducing AI to that so they can start seeing trends in traffic, crashes, how weather is affecting certain things, how construction is affecting things, things like that.
Okay.
So yeah, it can do that. And what we ask for people when they're doing that is give us like maybe the 5, 10 most things that you want to get from that video, and
Sure.
we'll let you know in a POC if it's possible or not.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. I appreciate that.
I have a question. So the street lights, would we get the name or number on the street light as well? If that is legible or clearly displayed?
On like the signage on the pole itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can see it from the image, 100%. Yeah. But if it's like a serial number 34567 8, and it's just unidentified out there, it won't extract that. But you could also, on top of that, say you had a list of all of your signage, and you could put the names on top of that with this product.
Okay. And I did not understand, do we have to get the subscription to use that product or
Yeah, for the street signs, correct. Yeah, all everything that I showed you guys, it's pretty much a subscription base.
okay. Thank you. By the way, your presentation is awesome.
I don't know about that, especially if you saw the words in the front in the beginning.
Thank you, guys.
I also have a question. So earlier in the presentation, Sam, when you're talking about the planimetrics data, was that gathered with the 2025 fiscal year for the West Tennessee?
So yeah, the planimetric data, particularly is with some county clients that we have. For example, Rutherford County. It's one of the fastest growing counties in the state, and what they've done is, they get new imagery every year, and so they map half of this county in planimetrics. They update it every year. And then, one year they do one half, and this next year they do the other half, and it just keeps on going back and forth. And it really helps, Mike Curtis, the GIS manager there, to really, manage, his GIS better, to understand, where the growth is happening across the county. But yeah, so that's, and, we do a lot of different things. You can extract data automatically. You can just do heads up 2D digitizing of the planimetrics. So there's a lot of different ways to do that.
Okay. Yeah. I know we have some planimetrics data that we probably need to be updated, so we may have to check in on that one.
Yeah.
Carrie, Carrie, in the past, the planimetrics were run by the county. The county
Okay.
have been getting that, so you might want to check in with whoever's running that right now.
I was thinking probably the county. Yeah. So I'll check with them. Thanks, Rick.
Okay.
I have a question. So, is there any free or student version of the app available without a subscription? If so, how do students sign up?
No, there is not a free version of these. These are all the products that I showed you guys are pretty much public sector specific, meaning, your Amazons and whatnot can't be utilizing these data sets. So they are made for specifically for, SLED and the federal level. That being said, in my slide deck, I'll share with all you guys after this. I have links to all of the demos that I showed you guys here today. This is my last slide. So you can play with those demos and then just give me an email if you want to get one done for your particular area of operation or you just want to learn a little bit more about them.
Thank you.
That's great. Thank you. Do we have any more questions? All right. Well, thank you guys.
Thanks,
I think a
guys.
lot of
Thank
that
you.
was really interesting.
Well,
Very
thank
Appreciate
you
y'all.
guys for hosting us. This was great.
Thank you,
And
guys.
it's great being with my two peers here, my fellow Tennesseans. So, but yeah, I know this was a lot to take in, but we're just kind of showing you guys the art of the possible, right? These are just the building blocks of what's at your disposal right now. And, if you guys want to learn some more, please just reach out and we'd love to show you guys a little more granular of what the capabilities of these can do for you guys.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. Hopefully we'll see
Thank
you
you.
next few weeks in July.
Goodbye.
You guys, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.